Yo, it's Redzone Rants with N Dev. I'm N Holder and
This is Dev.
the ugly one. We're here to get y'all some football game, no man. Get y'all some good little content here, man. Show y'all a little thing or two.
For sure, for sure. Teach this young man a little bit about the game.
Yeah, I'll probably be owning him the whole, podcast, but it's
That's
this
what he thinks.
normal thing.
I don't think you've won an argument against me since Obama was in office, bro. Let's be real. The Bush administration.
all right. You want to start with the sleeper teams? Give me five of
Yeah. You want to go first or me?
them. You can start them off. Start them off, goat. I'm a counter.
All right. So I'm gonna go from 5 to 1. Number 5. I'm starting with the Ravens, man. I'm not sleeping on the Ravens. They're going to have Lamar Jackson. He's going to be back at it this year. They just signed Odell. Odell, when he's playing, he's Odell. And, they got a really good defense, I think. They've always had a really good defense. And with that head coach, they're definitely going to be something to watch out for this year.
What's I don't know this off my head, but their win total projection has got to be like 9 or 10 and a half.
It might be, but there's people are doubting Lamar. People are doubting the receiving core, which the receiving core is not all that, but it's better this year. I feel like than it has been.
For sure,
And
is mediocre, but yeah,
they got Lamar Jackson. People say what they say about Lamar Jackson, but I feel like he's gonna be back to his top form this year if he can stay healthy.
I like that. It's kind of to the point where I think that's all the Ravens really need is if Lamar stays healthy, they probably win the North last year and the year before that. But Lamar just, missed almost 35-40% of the games. It's tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough for me to really bet on you, like to really take that serious, when your one's down half the year.
It is. That's their franchise guy. They're going to need him if they're going to live up to any expectations at all.
For sure. Especially playing in the North. But we know where that runs, but nah.
It runs through Pittsburgh this year, but that's a whole different story for a
Hey,
different day.
when was the last time Pitt won the North?
3 years ago.
Three. Okay. Who won the
Yeah.
last? Was that?
Don't matter. It don't matter. Ain't nobody going for a three-peat, so it's all right.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. I didn't really know for sure what. So I just wanted to clarify that.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, I like the Ravens. I don't think they're much creeping up on anybody, but I can see how one would be sleep on them because of Lamar Jackson's injuries. So I like
Yeah,
the
and he had that whole contract situation all year, so people probably don't know how that's going to play out. And he
which
finally got paid, so I feel like he'll come out and he'll ball out.
yeah, it's crazy because their whole offense was built around Lamar. So the fact that they were even contemplating on not paying him, like
It
where
don't
would
make any
you
sense.
go? Like where do you go? Like
They got the Walmart Lamar and Tyler Huntley, but
he was one fumble away from winning a play, which is crazy. But
a road playoff game in Cincinnati nonetheless.
that would have Joe Burrow would have never let that one down, man.
Nah. Nah.
But yeah, what's the second? Or is that five? Or is
That was 5. I'm going 5 to 1.
okay?
4, probably not a sleeper team as much like the Ravens, but the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is due. Listen, Trevor Lawrence is due to really break out. They're getting Calvin Ridley back. This team has not reached their full potential, and I don't see anybody talking about the Jaguars as a serious contender for the bowl. And I feel like if Trevor Lawrence really breaks out, like I think he can with Calvin Ridley back, and that offense could be one of the best in the leagues with all the weapons they got. I truly believe they could be.
So let me get this straight. Just for clarity purposes, the first two decisions, the twin
Yes,
were
yes.
playoff teams.
But teams that people aren't really taking serious.
I mean, if you're not taking I mean, I guess for Super Bowl, because I'm with you on there. I'm not taking the Jacksonville Jaguars as a Super Bowl contender. Like,
Like either one of these teams, I don't even think people see coming to the AFC Championship game.
I,
They're wild card teams, maybe divisional at best. But
yeah,
I'm not seeing anybody seeing these two make deep runs. But I wouldn't be surprised if both of them did, or either one.
my Bengal in me really don't want to give Lamar that, but I think they're primed for a run because their teams has been so bit. The Jags, I think they might have the easiest road in the AFC considering they got the worst division in the AFC out of all of the division on all four. They clearly have the worst, so I think the Jags. I like that pick. I just don't know
I think they got that division on lock for sure.
it's almost like they're a sleeper team, but if they do what they're supposed to do, they should minimum get 9 wins.
Yeah.
Six coming from the division, and then
Clean sweep all the way around, huh?
I think division they go 5-1 minimum. I mean, I'm not Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I do.
They ain't there. If they're not running through Derrick Henry, then Tennessee's not doing anything. I don't feel like.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They got a long way to go. Got a long.
hmm What's one of your teams? What teams you got up there? Sleepers.
Um, I got the Cleveland Browns. It's kind of crazy.
Mm,
You understand? I kind of despise the Browns as a whole, but you give a QB 230 million dollars guaranteed, he's going to
and you
get.
give up your entire future draft picks for him. You would expect
Man,
something.
I think with him not being allowed to be in the facility until week 8 of was it week 8, week 12? One of the
I think week 12. It was after their bye week. I think they had a late bye week last year.
yeah, so he got to come back the week before he was allowed to play into the facility. So
hmm
he probably could have worked out receivers. I'm not sure if he was or not, but the fact that he was away from the team for 8 weeks and then he came back still looking, I guess, kind of like he looked bad, but I wouldn't say he was as bad as the Commander starting quarterback. I would say,
That's a crazy stray right there. That's
yeah,
crazy.
arguably I would still take him better than Kenny Pickett last year coming off rust. Last year, Rusty Watson. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the rust knocked off. He should easily return to top 10. Tops. I mean, I don't know. When last time he was top 5, there was a lot of QBs that wasn't in the league. So that top 5 might not never get there again. Like Josh Allen wasn't as good. Um, you had
Mahomes.
Mahomes wasn't as elite as he is now. Joe Burrow wasn't in the league. Justin Herbert wasn't in the league. So, there's a lot of guys that are now in the league now. So I don't know if he gets that, but I know he will get top 10 this year. I think they have the best D end rusher in the game, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, two nice corners with Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward. So I mean, the Browns are prime. I think.
They are. I think it fully depends on what Deshaun Watson they get because he did take what was it, close to 2 years off of football almost.
Yeah,
Year and a half of football. Just that's hard to do with any position, let alone one of the most important positions in the game. I mean, look at Le'Veon Bell. He took a year off of football and he came back and stunk it up in New York. So I mean, Deshaun Watson, if he can get back to that, I mean, they got some nice receivers. They got a really decent offensive line. They got Nick Chubb,
I mean,
and that.
schedule wise, it favors them. I think they have the strength of schedule wise. It's the weakest in the North. So
hmm
I mean, you kind of playing sub 500 teams going off last year's winnings. So I just think that Watson also has the easiest schedule out of every QB in the North. So
Yeah, he just didn't. He didn't look right coming back last year. But like you said, he didn't get into the facility until week 12. So having all the entire season basically to not work with your guys, not be there for practices and all that stuff will really take a toll on you, and I think it definitely did last year because he stunk.
The NFL's kind of crazy for making that game in Houston too.
They knew what they were doing. They
Yeah,
really did. They
they
did that shit on purpose.
they did not care.
Not at all. Mike Tomlin. We do not care.
One of my other teams though, I like the Detroit Lions. They drafted Jameer Gibbs.
They're on my list.
DJ Gardner Johnson was acquired. Shout out. I'm really not a big fan of him, but the guy did prove me wrong. Jared Goff. So shout out Goff. Think
Jared Goff, he's a baller. He's underrated. I
think
think he has been.
15-0 TD INT ratio the last 7 weeks. So
I think the Super Bowl where he put up what was it like 9 points that really weighed heavily on how people view him. But I've three. It was a three. That's right. That was 3 points in the Super Bowl.
that is
That
kind
really tarnished his image. A lot of people, I feel like, but I think Jared Goff is a lot better than people give him credit for sure.
he's still got to show me a little bit. I'm not gonna, but I do like the team so much. They played St. Brown, the defense and the O line's probably top four, top three in the league. The
You
Penny
got a.
that the Bengals passed up on,
Mm-hmm.
monster. I think he gave up not pressure, but 2 sacks, 10 pressures altogether last season, and it was like year 3, year 2. So he's got a really bright future, as well as the New Orleans Saints. I don't think a lot of people were talking about. Um, the division's wide open. I think that's the worst
Yeah.
in football. And I think they have what's that? The only QB that's a veteran who's been to a Pro Bowl. I mean, say what you want about Derek Carr, but if you look at the numbers, he had the worst defense his 9 years in Vegas.
Yeah, Derek Carr has consistently played with bottom 10 defenses his entire career. And New Orleans has, over the past few years, or really for even longer than that, probably has usually had a pretty strong defense, at least coming out the gates. I like Cam Jordan. They usually always have a decent front seven, at the
Or
very least.
Brady.
They're going to be without Alvin Kamara for the first few weeks of the season, but once they get him back, if they're already rolling, then
Oh, he
they'll
did,
just
didn't he?
yeah, they suspended him for the first 3 games, so they'll be without him for a few weeks. But if they can work that out and then add him afterwards, then they might be decent out there.
And then I got one more sleeper team. It's a very, very, very unpopular opinion. The Denver Broncos. I mean, hear me out though. So one, when you've been rock bottom, you literally can't. Like they Russell Wilson can't get any. Like I promise you, he can't get any worse. Like he can't. Like he just
No, no, he can't get any worse, but there is a shot he don't get any better. And if that's the Russell Wilson they got going forward, then
the thing is though, I think they go 10-7 if they score 22 points a game, which 22 points a game ranked 21st in the league.
mm-hmm.
I'm saying Sean Payton's never had an offense outside of the bottom 15 of the
They
NFL.
do have Sean Payton. That is true.
Sean Payton flips offenses. That's his calling card. So when you got a
Mm-hmm.
in place that gave up the second fewest amount of points per game, their offense just gave or had the last amount of points. So when that's the common denominator, I think Sean Payton can get you at least 20 points a game. Like I said, 3 points a game. They're 10-7 last year. So
And Russell Wilson, he's obviously been through the ringer. He's a Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl quarterback. Probably looking at the Hall of Fame, if we're being honest, eventually, if he can keep that up or get back to what he was at one point. I know a lot of former Seahawks talk like he's not all that, but I think if he can get at least, a little bit better than what he put out last year, then they might be able to be a lot better than they were, that's for sure.
it was so bad. It was so bad to the point where like Sean Payton sneak dissing like the past coach. Like he's like, yeah, he's trash. Like, that's kind of insane though.
It is. Um, yeah, no, they got some. I like Jerry Judy. I don't know much about their running back core off the top of my head. But I know that Denver's usually had a pretty decent defense. I don't know how they were last year. They were kind of hard to watch, so I didn't watch a whole lot of them.
Hey, the
And what's
reaction.
crazy is they got so many primetime games last year, and they
Oh,
were still hard to watch.
actually led the NFL in primetime games.
They were so bad on primetime, the NFL changed the rule this year to where you can flex out of like Thursday night games or some shit like that. They changed it to where you can flex out of certain primetime games because the Broncos got so many and they stunk.
We can call it for what it was. He was ass last year. He was very ass. Like he wasn't even mediocre. He was ass. But that's what I'm. You rank 31st at QB, 32nd, maybe, possibly. I don't know. We're like as a starter, you literally can only go up. If Russ finished 23rd last year, probably out of the QBs, maybe even 22, they probably get to the playoffs. Like they only need
Probably.
21 points a game. Like their defense ranked, I think, number 2 in points given up, which is
Yeah.
that to have as the D coordinator.
Yeah, a
But
lot of their games I feel like were between both sides were scored under 20 points. They were
yeah,
losing close games and it was low scoring games every single time it felt like.
that Bradley Chubb dude, I think that's his name, the Chubb guy, the DN.
Yeah, their defensive guy,
He's a freak. Him with Sutton on the man.
mm-hmm.
Sheesh. Yeah, they can definitely defend. The problem is they
Actually, I feel like I think now that I'm thinking about Chubb, I think Chubb went to Miami.
Bradley Chubb. Okay, yeah.
Bradley Chubb was the linebacker for Denver. I may be wrong, but I feel like I heard something about him going to Miami.
Actually, I do think I
Big
do.
ass contract too.
Yeah, he got paid.
Sutton's tough. Patrick Surtain is tough. They got some good. They got Surtain the corner. He's tough, just
Yeah.
like his father.
they
Pops was tough.
they said Sertain, the Bengal receiver, said Sertain was the best corner in the league.
Mm, which one?
Jamar Chase.
I mean, he's tough. I don't know if he's the best corner in the league.
His rookie year, the year we went to the Super Bowl, we beat the Broncos in Denver, but the game was like 10-15, and I
Yeah.
think Lamar might have got held to like a catch for like 10. Like it doesn't get talked about a lot because the Bengals won and the Broncos were not good, so kind of like I think Drew Lock was the QB at the time, so
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That's enough right there.
so it wasn't really much to talk about in the game. It kind of got slipped under the rug, but I know he put both of our receivers on notice, like both of them.
I got one more sleeper team on my list, and I think you know where I might be going with this. Do not sleep on the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, man. Do not do it. I'm telling you now. If we got TJ Watt, there's no way we win anything under 10 games.
Under?
Nothing under 10 games if we have
Whoa,
TJ Watt
whoa!
on everything. TJ Watt. Bro, did
Oh,
you we went on like a 6-game losing streak because he was out and he came back and we started winning. This
bro,
dude is the MVP of our team and it's not even close.
10 games?
Yes. If he's healthy, I see no reason why because we got Quan Alexander, who's a solid interior lineman. Our offensive line is completely reshuffled from last year. Basically, all new faces, and I think we got some studs. Kenny Pickett, man, his last what was it? He went 5 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last like 4 games. He had
Yeah,
like 3 or 4 game-winning drives to close out the season.
yeah, 2,400 yards, 63% completion percentage. He was
Yeah,
out, he was okay,
he
but
was. He was arguably pretty bad the first few games that he came in.
you got to
But towards the end of the season, he took care of the ball a whole lot better. And I feel like George Pickens is probably going to have a sophomore breakout year, if we're being honest.
I like Pickens.
Najee Harris, if we have a solid line, I feel like he can be good for us. And Deontay Johnson, if he can stop dropping the ball and running backwards after he catches it, then we'll be all right.
My only concern, who are your corners? Is it Joey Porter Jr.?
We just drafted Joey Porter Jr. We got Levi Wallace.
Pat P, right?
Yeah, we got Pat Pete as the vet out there in the corner room. Levi Wallace, he's when we traded for Levi Wallace or assigned him last year, it definitely amped up our run defense. He's a really solid tackling corner on the outside. He put in a lot of solid tackles out there for a corner at least. Something we didn't have. We usually have a lot of undersized corners that can't tackle worth a shit.
Joe Hayden included.
Joe Hayden included, couldn't tackle.
The
Uh,
problem is with you guys is them corners is the only weakness I see in the Steelers defense. But those are so big when
yeah,
every in your conference is elite. Like you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
We
That's
got we face too many tough receivers that have such a bad corner room year in and year out.
like I mean you got the arguably the best wide receiver room in your division. So I mean you kind of just I don't know. Like I don't know. That's an interesting pick. Because one, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, so I would hate to bet against history. Because I don't know. If
That
all
right there gives us at least 9 wins. Off that fact alone, we're getting 9 wins.
then how many? Didn't you guys win 8 or 9 this year?
We won 9 last year. We went 9-8.
And oh, okay. I thought you had a tie. I was gonna say
Nah, that was the year before we had a tie.
he's still the type of guy that plays 17 games and go 8-1. Like he will not. So I understand it, but I still don't know in that division. I mean, third
It's
at
a
best.
tough division. I think wholeheartedly we have the best division in football, year in and year out.
Oh yeah, going off the last five. But if you go off this year, it's tough not to say the East, AFC.
Yeah, yeah. Miami's rapidly improving. New York, dude. I New York might win that division if we're being honest.
I got the Jets winning, yeah. And somehow Bill Belichick's the most under fire guy now. I was here under the impression of so
Man, that he ain't ever going nowhere. He's the goat, the greatest coach ever. So you can't ever count them out.
and then
Although I'm not a big Mac Jones fan at all. I don't think Mac Jones is it.
Whack Jones.
Yeah, he was whacked to me at Alabama, but that's a different story.
Oh, he gets carried so bad. Like
So bad.
he's like the Jeff Green on the 2018 Cavaliers. Like
He was so close to losing his job to Bailey Zappi. It ain't even funny.
Bailey Zappi actually played nice in Green Bay though.
He did. He did.
I actually did like how what I seen. I thought he was actually going to go forward, and they, whatever reason, Bill, you'll never know.
Never.
But you ready to get to these selections?
MVP. Who you got MVP?
Yours truly, man. I got reason for it. Joe Burrow was number 3 in MVP voting last year, even though it was pretty much a 2-man race. Um, he's been top 5 in passing yards every year. He's played a full season. He's been top 3 in passing touchdowns every year. He's played a full season. He also has the highest completion percentage in NFL history, minimum attempts being 700 with 69.79%, which is 70. He also has 3 wide receivers that are still in the prime of their career in Tyler Boyd, 900 yards in 16 games. Mr. Jamar Chase, 1,000 yards in 12 games. And Mr. T. Higgins, 1,000 yards in 15 games. So you got guys like that can still produce high. You got Joe Mixon, who off the field, I'm not really the biggest fan. I don't really, but on the field, I think the guy can still produce on a very high level. We
He
have
just took a pay cut, didn't he?
that's that's one of the biggest reasons why. I don't know if it was really like his willpower. I think Mike Brown kind of told him like, you either take this pay on. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But we got a young running back named Chase Brown who we took this year. I think he went to Illinois and the big
Mm-hmm.
so elite last year in college. So I think he'll add a different dimension. We brought in Irv Smith, the tight end from the Vikings last year. So
Yeah.
we never we don't really have like we always sign tight ends to 1-year deals, and whatever tight end Zach Taylor has in his offense, it's pretty much going to have 400, 500 yards, 7 TDs. So, but I think
Aiden Hurst last year.
yeah, the underrated part though, I think it um Joe Burrow got better as the season went on last season. And
The crazy thing about Joe Burrow is he still has yet to have a complete offseason and training camp. This year it's the calf. Last year he had that uh, emergency appendix surgery that kept him out of basically all of preseason and camp again. And then
rookie
the year before it was his ACL.
rookie season, before that, coming into rookie season, they had COVID, so you couldn't meet your
Yeah,
team in August.
he has yet. We're year 4 at this point. He has yet to
Uh,
have
it's a
a full off season.
it's a crazy stat, but Joe Burrow has literally only played four more preseason snaps than me. In his whole career, it's pretty impressive when you think that he started week one every game.
hmm
Four pre that's kind
Although I will say, last off season, not having that camp and all that stuff, week 1 and 2, really, week 1 and 2, it kind of showed that he didn't have very much time with his guys out there.
yeah, really shaky, really off. But in the same breath, I think this year, I think we all took a sigh of relief because Jamar Chase had said we don't care if he comes back by week 5, and
Yeah,
Zach Taylor said several weeks. But the sigh of relief was Joe Burrow was running without the calf sleeve on Friday.
I did see that.
Seen him throwing, so I think it was all just the Bengals trying to keep it in house. Like we do play the Browns, so just one of them things where you don't want to give up too much. But Joe Burrow,
hmm
if he's running, I think it's 31 days or 30 days before we have to play the Browns, running and throwing. I think he'll be ready.
Yeah, for sure.
I had an organ taken out, and somehow he played 5 weeks later, and so
Right.
like a super.
Yeah, that one definitely made me hold my breath because he was non-contact and the
Oh,
way he threw the ball down, and I'm like, he's already had one bad injury that knee. I don't need to see him going through something like that again,
and,
especially with that contract coming up.
and that's the craziest part about it is I think Joe Burrow is probably going to become the highest paid player of all time.
Probably.
And it's not fair because Bengal fans are expecting. You're like, well, he paid pay cut, and which is cool,
Well,
but
he said that he was going to try to take a pay cut, but I don't know because he wants to keep his guys around.
yeah,
All the
but
receivers have said he wants to keep them around, but it depends, I guess. If he
the
gets $300 million thrown in his face, it's hard to
it's
turn that down.
it's, it's
You can't really turn $300 million down.
I seen Joe Burrow go 3-0 without T Higgins and 4-0 without Jamar Chase last year. This is not made up. This is Trent Irwin and Trent Taylor. Two number. This is the guys who he's throwing to in New England, and he's making look good. So I wouldn't mind. We definitely got to keep one of those guys for sure. But
One of them, yeah.
off rip, it'll probably be Chase because that's Burrow's guy. But if we keep Higgins, which I think we will, the fact that we're signing all these other guys like Logan Wilson just got extended and Jermaine Pratt, nobody knew we were gonna have both of our linebackers extended. Like
Yeah.
no that. So the fact that we found money to keep them, I'm not worried about Burrow. I mean, I don't know why we get this weird misconception like we don't pay our quarterbacks. You remember what Andy Dalton got? He got like $100 million before that was cool. Like before that was easy.
Yeah. And
Uh,
he hadn't
done
done
not,
anything compared to what Joe Burrow's done already.
yeah. We
So,
gave Carson Palmer. I think he was the fourth highest paid in the NFL at the time. It wasn't 100 million, obviously, because that wasn't the salary standard, but it was pretty high at the time. It made him top 5 paid at the position. So Joe Burrow, I mean, he's clearly those guys. So I don't think we'll have a problem paying him.
nah, I think what's a lot of people expect is that a lot of quarterbacks will try to take Tom Brady deals and
Mm-mm.
just be severely underpaid for their entire career just because they win. I think Tom Brady did that because he was married to somebody who was worth $300 million at the time, and money wasn't a problem anyways. So of course he's going to take that pay cut and win games.
I think Brady's a very bad anomaly for the NFL
Yeah, for sure. I don't
because
think we're going to see anybody take that approach.
it's just unrealistic. I seen Tom Brady choose his family, no, choose football over his family. Actually, like if you're going to do that, you're the GOAT. Like you got it. Like I don't know if nobody else would do that. He
Mm-mm.
really didn't care. So, but who you got for your MVP, man?
I went back and forth a lot on it between two guys, one being Joe Burrow and the other being Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jalen Hurts is going to pick up exactly where he left off in the Super Bowl, going toe to toe with the best quarterback in the league. And he was in that debate last year. He was the number two guy, I think, at the end of the season in that conversation, anyways. And I don't see any reason that he takes a step back. If anything, I think he might take a step forward. He missed, I think, a couple games last year, or a game or two at least, and he still was able to keep himself in that conversation all year.
I think the fact that nobody's won the East in the last 20 years back to back, the NFC East, since
Mm-hmm.
the Eagles did it with T.O. actually in McNabb. I think that's kind of, I'm going to go with history on that. So I'm going to
Yeah,
say, you know, I don't know if they win the East this year. And another thing is they had the worst schedule, not the worst, easiest schedule, number wise, like win percentage wise, in the NFL last year.
yeah.
So
That same breath, nobody has ever three-peated in the AFC North. At least in the last 20 years, nobody's three-peated in the AFC North. And the Bengals are obviously on the verge of doing that. So maybe history will be changed this year for both divisions. Who knows?
yeah, the problem is if Burrow doesn't win the North, I can still see them being an 11 or 12 win team.
Yeah. The Giants and the Cowboys both being playoff teams last year.
Going to really kind of derail. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're going to make a huge impact on Jalen Hurts. I feel like. Um, I think nine out of not nine, 10 out of 17 games were against teams that were like 5 wins or under, and
Hmm.
they really like. I don't want to say cakewalk, but they got blessed. Daniel Jones and Josh Johnson. I mean,
That says enough right there.
yeah, I'm gonna take
That
away. He had
I
a
I definitely do believe that if the Niners were healthy at quarterback, they'd have been.
Brock Purdy would have been. He would have been a national story. I really do believe that.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he would have.
Mr. Irrelevant to playing in the Super Bowl would be crazy in one
But
year.
the fact that you had Christian McCaffrey with like I think the most passing attempts in the game,
Yeah, that says enough right there. If your running back is out there throwing the ball,
and I think they actually put up points in the game too. Like I'm pretty
they
sure
did.
they didn't go win. They didn't go scoreless. So,
That
which
49ers defense is probably top two in the league at worst, I would say. They had Philly with fits in the first half at least.
Philly didn't really know what to do with the
And
pressure.
that deep bomb to Devonta Smith on like fourth down that led to a touchdown that wasn't a catch that they never reviewed.
Oh, that they just no huddled it and kind of got the next playoff.
If it wasn't for that, I don't even think they would have scored in the first half.
Yeah, it would have been a dead draw. So I'm with you on that. I really kind of see like Jalen Hurts. He might have the longest, not the longest. He might have the easiest path, I guess, if you look at
Hmm.
his division. But
Yeah,
like I said, history ain't on his side. So
it's not. And
not
I
a,
understand that. That's why I was back and forth because if he picks up anywhere where he left off in that Super Bowl, but throughout the entire season, I feel like he might run away with it. But like you said, that Cowboys defense ain't that much of a slouch either.
I think
And
they're me.
you said what?
They're the actually. I'm gonna harp on that. Our next topic.
Okay. I don't see him. It'll be harder for him to dominate if against teams like the Cowboys if he can't pick it up like he did in the Super Bowl twice a year, and to keep that up for an entire season while staying healthy. Uh, it's possible, and that's why I was going back and forth between him and Burrow because they're both one of the best at what they do.
Yeah,
They both don't really have history on their side as far as repeat wins and division title goes, but I don't know. Those two are definitely my picks. I'm on the fence about both of them.
I'm kind of with you going on Hurts because if Hurts doesn't miss 3 games, what was it 2 games last year too?
I
He's
think it was probably two or three. I think.
yeah, he's the MVP of the league. So
Yeah.
I'm not a bad pick. Who you got for DPOY?
DPOY. I'm going TJ Watt. That's the easiest decision I've got to make right there. Nah, or Micah Parsons.
I'm going with Micah. Um,
Micah's a beast. He's so much. He's versatile as hell. He's all over the field. He fucks offensive linemen up.
I think
So.
thing that's going to make Micah, because he's had 13 and 13 and a half sacks his first 2 seasons, which is kind of weird. 13 and 13 and a half, like
Yeah, that's crazy.
sounds like his average, but um, with Gilmore, quarterback's got to hold the ball that much longer. Like,
Mhm.
and that's not like a half a second longer. That's more like a whole second. Like
Yeah,
Gilmore is the best corner on that team right now.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's probably gonna take on the number ones. I mean,
Majority of the time, yeah, he's more of a man-to-man lockdown corner than Diggs is for sure.
yeah. So, or you usually when I see the new NFL does is they usually put the number two corner and safety help on the number one.
Hmm.
The number one corner guard the number two wide receiver with no help at all.
Yeah.
That's
Which I mean, I get that. That
yeah.
works out in your favor most of the time, I would say.
Except for the Miami Dolphins against the Bengals last year. Yeah, rare high days.
They were getting fried.
Yeah, Xavier Howard had a very long day against
Oh yeah, he did.
but I like
Mike Parsons, even if he does just get an additional a half second in the NFL is a long time when the average snap to pass in the NFL I think is sub 3 seconds. So you don't get a whole lot of time anyways. So if he gets an extra half second to rush the passer, he'll get so many sacks next year. He might even push 20 to be honest.
do you still believe TJ Watt's the best defensive player in the league?
I do. If he can play fully healthy, it was night and day our defense entirely. And he's got Alex Highsmith on the other side of him, who's been breaking out the last 2 seasons. He just got paid this year, which makes it harder to double team him, which is why people bring up double team rates, comparing him and Myles Garrett and all that. But I think he is probably at the worst top three defensive player in the entire league.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say position wise. I think number one still belongs to Aaron Donald.
Yeah, if Aaron Donald can bounce back for sure he's still the best because I think he's probably one of the top three greatest defensive players ever, let
You know,
alone in the league right now.
their best defensive players the last year, the Rams, Ramsey and Donald. They so called had down years, but if you look at the numbers, Donald had 9.5 sacks in like 13 games.
Hmm.
He finished with 90 tackles and 4 picks. And if these are down years, give me those. Like these are better years than Eli Apple will ever have. Than
Yeah,
DJ will have. These are elite guys. So
yeah. I think whatever hurt the Rams last year was injuries across the board. They sold all out for that Super Bowl
and,
ring,
and that's
and
that really is.
Cooper Cup went down early last year. Stafford was dealing with injuries as far as early back as camp. He had shoulder problems going on, and that really strung out across the whole year.
Hey, don't
So,
sneak back in the playoffs this year, man. I'm telling you,
who is?
the Rams don't sneak back on them, man.
I could see it for sure. If they can stay healthy, they get Cooper Cup back, who's probably a top five wide receiver when he's playing.
Probably,
Man, it's hard to say solidified because he's only had the one elite season.
probably. No. I can't let you do that. He's had multiple seasons of 11 and 1,200 yards. Legit golf.
He had the
There's
one
so rush.
elite season. 1,100 yards isn't elite in the NFL anymore. You got to get 14, 15, 1,600 yards, double digit touchdowns. That's just the way that passing attack of the league is now. I don't consider an 1,100-yard season elite. It's a
That
good season.
that for the offense that they had, I mean, they were run heavy. They had Todd Gurley, offensive player of the year. He's not gonna get more looks, touches, and this is offense wise too. Gurley still had like 80 catches, like
That
so.
was an offense, though, that also scored close to or over 30 points a game for the entire season. So obviously they were sharing the rock around. And he still didn't have an elite season.
Hey, brother, I'm not sure if you can give me 5 receivers that are better than Cooper Cup.
No, I said probably. I wouldn't. If I really thought about it, he probably would end up in my top five.
Probably
Yes, probably. He's had one super great season. And
not
then the very next season after that, he missed almost the entire year.
not even super great. It's arguably the best wide receiving year. of
ever.
like
Yes,
Offensive
ever.
Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, broke the yardage record. What else do
Hmm.
you want from him? Like,
To come back and do it again, and he didn't. He got hurt and missed the entire year. But if
man,
he's still even missing the entire year last year, he's still probably top five. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, both ahead of him. Debo Samuel,
as a wide receiver,
Tyreek Hill.
I'll give you Tyreek. I don't know if Debo's a better wide receiver than Cooper Cup.
Debo maybe not a better wide receiver. He's a better player.
We talking about wide receivers, fool.
We talking about wide receivers. You're right. You're right. We talking about wide receivers. Stephon Diggs.
Hey, man, Cooper Cup. He needs a little bit more respect. I'm gonna say this. He needs his flowers, bro. Like at one point,
He's a dog. He had if Calvin Johnson didn't exist, I think he had the best wide receiver season of all time because Calvin Johnson did it in one less game.
no, I agree. But about at one time that year, Cooper Cup might have been the best player in football. Like altogether. Like actually every position. I think he averaged like 10 catches and 111 yards and a TD.
Yeah,
That like
it it's a
crazy.
shame the NFL doesn't give MVPs to non-quarterbacks because he could have easily won MVP that year.
Yeah, for sure. So I like the Rams as a sleeper team. I got them going 10-7 and sneaking in the back part. Maybe even competing with San Fran for the,
For the division.
West. So
That's tough. That is a tough division, especially with Geno Smith kind of having a little bit of a comeback story last year, and he played a lot better than anybody expected him to.
I'm not sold on him. He got so
I'm
big.
I'm not sold on him, but he outplayed his Madden overall last
Oh,
year to say the least.
man, Gino impersonated a baller all season.
All season. But if he can do it again, then I'll start to respect it. But
He
you're
got
not going to be ass for 10 years and then come out of nowhere and have a good season and you're
someone.
top five.
Yeah, no way. You
Top
can't,
five is crazy.
bro. I'm not even gonna mention his name. I had someone actually tell me he was better than Justin Herbert.
Crazy.
Crazy,
Crazy. He was
outrageous.
ass for a decade. He going to come back and have a decent season. A decent one. Not a great one, a decent season.
For for maybe someone who don't know who Justin Herbert is, I think he's the highest paid player of all time now. Like
Right now, yeah, he is.
he's not the richest, you know.
And
Hey,
he's a top five at his position in the league. A
if
real
he
top five.
said the word $200 million, they would have him arrested.
They would have had him drug out of the facility. Geno Smith talking about some $200 million.
But yeah, we got one more, and that's Offensive Player of the Year, man. Who you got?
For that, let me see real quick. Oh, Lamar Jackson.
I mean, usually don't quarterbacks get the MVP though for
They get MVP. I think Patrick Mahomes actually has a
OPO?
offensive player of the year.
Okay, yeah.
It's not exactly common, but it definitely does happen. And he's such a dual threat. I feel like it's easier for a dual threat to go out and do something like that. If he's rushing for 600 or 700 yards and a few touchdowns on top of, a pretty good passing season, then I see no way he couldn't get it.
38 yards over under Lamar Jackson passing.
3,800.
Yeah,
They're not really a team built around passing, anyways, but they did just add Odell Beckham, and we all know how Odell gets when he's not getting the rock. So I feel like he's going to get the rock, which only inflates Lamar's numbers. And they still got Mark Andrews. I'm gonna say over. He might have a 4,000-yard season.
I'm gonna say Odell's not a number one receiver though. So
Maybe not in most cases, but on the Baltimore Ravens, I think he's probably the number one guy.
no, yeah, but I mean, where are
maybe
we?
maybe not in most of the other teams in the league, but on the Ravens, I'd say number one's probably his role.
I mean, like pretty much the Ravens and like three other teams might be in might like
Might, yeah,
like he can go to
yeah.
Pittsburgh now, and he's probably not a top two receiver.
Nah,
Like
nah. Them knee injuries fried him. It's sad, but Yeah, you're right. There's maybe two, three, or four teams in the entire league where he'd be the number one guy
Yeah, I don't
consistently.
of the two. I don't even know. Like maybe yeah, Carolina maybe Carolina.
Yeah, they just traded away DJ Moore. They don't really have a whole lot
But to
out
be
there
Curtis
off the
Sam,
top of my head.
Curtis Samuel balled last year though. So
Oh, I thought he was on Washington, unless he just came over to Carolina.
yeah, I think Carolina just picked him up in free agency.
He's a baller. He's tough. I don't know about necessarily, number one guy or anything, but
Yeah, nah, yeah, I definitely agree with that one. Um,
but as far as OPOY, I also Saquon Barkley. I
okay.
think he's going to be playing hungry if he could stay healthy. I mean, he balled out last year for real, and if he stays healthy because of that whole contract, I think the contract is going to have him lit up. And they got a pretty good offensive line, um, and they're definitely going to feed him the ball. He ain't going to have to complain about touches, that's for sure.
Yeah, force feed that boy the ball.
If he gets force fed, like I feel like they probably will, and he stays healthy, then I feel like he could definitely ball out probably 13, 1,400 rushing yards.
Are you saying he should be the first pick in my fantasy?
Yeah, I would. I
Okay.
Injuries are scary, but you can't ever predict injuries anyways. So who knows? Maybe he never gets hurt again, and he's one of the best running backs in the league at that point. So,
All right. So I'm gonna take him first, and if I lose, you just give me the $50 for the, you know, the join cost. So no big deal.
well,
We'll
we'll
go
have to discuss about that one.
get it. I don't mind Saquon. I only had one name for mine that
Hmm
stood out is Christian McCaffrey. Um, Brock Purdy.
Forgot about CMC.
He's got two young quarterbacks who, if you know Kyle Shanahan, he's so QB friendly. Like his system's so friendly. So what's going to happen is last year I got the numbers right here: 750 yards in 10 games, which is pretty. I think that's 75 yards, 75 rush yards a game, which would have ranked top five last year. He had 10 rushing touchdowns. He had four receiving, so 14 altogether. And this is only in 11 total games.
Hmm
Half game played with San Fran. So
Yeah,
you're talking about a guy that's probably, I think, the best dual running back in the league. I think
yeah.
I think
He
he
he is a baller. He's one of the few guys who could go out there and you get him the ball, and he's going to find a way to move the ball down the field for sure,
had a
everywhere.
hundred and something catches and carry.
Hmm Oh
Oh,
yeah, he was nasty in Carolina, and if they got a lot of wealth to share in San Francisco though. That's the only thing about me. They got George Kittle, Debo. They got Brandon Ayuk, who's poised to break out this
yeah,
year.
I like Ayuk.
But CMC, he's the type of guy that you want to have the ball. So if they get him the ball as much as if he's touching the ball 20 times a game, then
I
I
think
think they'll be very successful.
the only thing that might go against him is I don't see him having like 13 or 1400 yards rushing. I see him more like 1100 rushing, but like maybe 800 receiving. Like, because
It's very possible. I think he's gotten close to that number before.
yeah, and they still got a Elijah Mitchell, ain't that his name? The backup
Yeah,
who actually had more TDs than he did. I think he had like 11 or 12 rush.
yeah,
He's a pretty workhorse himself. So you think about that, I think McCaffrey, he definitely has to share the ball. But in the same breath, man,
yeah.
they
He's tough. You get him the ball, and like I said, he's always going to get the ball down the field one way or the other.
and as far as the Niners, I really think they're the easy pick. But that's why I think they somehow get upset in the division though.
It might be. I mean, but like you said, their coach is so quarterback friendly. I mean, he was able to get Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl, so that kind of says enough about San Fran right there. But
Hey, but just flank is Jimmy G catches. That guy like went 6-0 in New England. So
yeah, he did. Tom Brady was out, and he went 4-0. But that's when you have Bill Belichick. You got a consistent top 10 defense year in and
yeah,
year out.
when we say that's when he had Bill Belichick, I have yet to see Mac Jones go 4-0. So,
Fair point. Mac Jones stinks.
but that you gotta have hype. But I think Atlanta good for him though. He's got the arguably the best receiver in football. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
or
he does. But I don't know. I honestly, This might be a hot take. I don't know if Devontae Adams finishes the season on the Raiders.
You think he wants out?
I think he will, playing with Jimmy Garoppolo.
You know, we got a good place in Cincinnati for Devontae. I think we really do. You know,
You
like,
know damn well that if he does one out of Vegas, there's one guy he's going to want to go play for.
you sure about that, man?
I'm pretty sure. And Cincinnati ain't got no damn room for Devontae Adams.
Hey, man, we can clear some cap, man. I make some calls, man. We get
Make
T
some calls.
get Mr. Boyd to go, and
You going to get rid of Boyd for Adams right now?
I will get rid of Tyler Boyd right now and my own my own paycheck. You know,
You'll walk him out the facility yourself, huh?
happily with a smile on my face. I dropped
Talking
off at the airport.
talking best receivers in football, Justin Jefferson has that title going into this season for me.
I mean, yeah, I think numbers, yeah, and his play actually too. He actually did have spectacular catches. I also think
That
he,
catch against Buffalo on like fourth down with the game on the line and shit, that one-handed catch he had last season, that shit was crazy.
but in the biggest games, he shrinks.
Yeah, he
Like
does. He
that's
got he got manhandled by Jair Alexander in that second game they played last year.
yeah,
He
and it,
got bottled up.
every major receiver sees double teams, so you just got to get through it. Like you know, I still expect you to produce. I mean, I don't know if you remember the play, 4th and 7 AFC title game, 4th and 7. Joe Burrow sees Jamar Chase doubled, and what does he do? He's like, I'll throw it down there anyways. And he makes the grab. Like, that's what I mean when, like, those are the highest of the games. Like,
That's also a quarterback trust thing. A lot of quarterbacks don't trust to throw it like that. They don't want to be the one to make
yeah,
the throw into double coverage and it get intercepted. That's why Antonio Brown said that uh, he liked Ben because Ben obviously threw the ball to him no matter fucking what.
yeah, he didn't
And
care.
Ben gave me a chance. He said Derek Carr didn't ever give him a chance in training camp and shit like that.
That's so unfair.
It is training camp. I know. It's like picking out practice stats.
Bro, he called the GM a mayo monkey. He cannot be on the roster.
Nah, he can't.
like, remember the John Gruden meme? He's like, he called us all mayo monkeys, man. It was a good time out here.
Yeah, nah, he's crazy. AB, that's a whole nother character right there.
Man,
That dude is crazy.
as far as AB, can we quit saying this goat receiver talk? Can we stop with that? He's not the best receiver of all time.
Best receiver of the last 10 years.
No. Did Larry Fitzgerald play in the last 10 years?
Yeah, not on the level of Antonio Brown.
Man, now we're nitpicking. We can give him this. I mean, I don't know.
AB is better than Larry Fitzgerald all time, anyways.
It's a crazy take.
It's not a wrong one.
It's a crazy take. You're talking about a guy
Accurate.
that had like 1,000 yards in like year 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
AB didn't even make it to like year 9. Like,
That's because he went crazy. That's not his fault. That's
it's
not his fault. He
fault.
got the he caught the shoulder to the head. That's not his fault.
His fault. You're like, well, he went crazy. Yeah, it's his fault. He's not in the
Nah,
league.
that's Vontez Burfict, man. That's a whole different.
I can see if it was like a situation where like he was getting blackballed. It's actually his fault. He's not in the NFL. Like
No,
I
that's his actions, but it's not his fault that he's acting this way. If that makes sense. I genuinely believe he's got something wrong upstairs, bro.
man, you telling me Larry Fitzgerald didn't take similar hits? You telling me he's the only guy who took those type of hits? We have confirmed.
Nah, but everybody's brain functions differently. He
We
got
have
his plate clean.
man. We've got like thousands of CTE. Not 1,000. That's kind of overdoing it. We've got hundreds of CTE cases. I've never seen a guy throw his helmet and pads off mid game and walk off the field.
No, there's people that have done far worse though.
One,
CTE really fucks with people, and I
no,
think he has that.
I think he does too, but I don't think you can even know that about someone until after they pass
Probably
through.
not, but you can kind of tell by behaviors. I mean, behavior changes is one of the symptoms of it.
But we can't just say that's a behavior change on CTE, or because he also did have $50 more million than what he had when you first seen him his first year in Pittsburgh. Like money can also do that to people.
Yes,
Kanye
man.
single down and he might have CTE. Kyrie Irving might have like some guys are just
That is true. Money does change people.
So yeah, I don't really know. I do think he has CTE. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know
I
that.
will say he's better than Larry Fitzgerald.
I don't know, man.
He's better than Chad Johnson.
I give you that. He's not.
Uh,
He's
huh?
not Andre,
Who?
Calvin, or Andre Johnson.
Oh, he's better than Andre Johnson.
No,
Come on, Andre Johnson.
bro,
What?
bro is like top two, top three in the league with Matt Schaub. Like, stop. like, bro, bro has never not had a Hall of Fame QB his whole career. Like, Matt Schaub never had a Pro Bowl QB his whole career. Like,
Andre Johnson?
bro, do you?
Calvin Johnson is pushing it.
Calvin Johnson is pushing it,
Calvin Johnson's
bro.
pushing it.
Bro, I'm pretty sure he led the league in targets, like AB did. Like they're
You
not.
played AB twice a year as a Bengals fan. You should know all about AB.
Yeah, he was force fed.
Calvin Johnson wasn't force fed. He
Yeah,
was getting Hail Marys thrown to him in quadruple
nah,
coverage on a regular.
he was, but he never played with Hall of. I mean, come on now. He came in with Dan Orlowski, man. With Dan Orlowski, man. We're not even talking about Dev. He came in with
But
you.
he came in as the number one guy. AB was on the team for almost 3 seasons before he even started getting targets like that.
So why can't we hold that to their also standard? Like it took you 3 years to become elite. Like guys like Larry came in elite. Guys like Calvin was elite day one. Like actually day one, I think his first game he went for like 100 yards. Like Julio
Peak AB,
a little.
Peak AB is the best wide receiver in football right now.
I don't know. I haven't seen Justin Jefferson out of speak. I just don't know. He's like 22, 23, and he went for 1,800. I don't know what Justin Jefferson's peak is. Like, I really don't. Him and Jamar Chase could really just be scratching the surfaces, and they both already had 1,600 and 1,800 yards. So, like, it's kind of like.
I mean, that's fair. But at the same time, AB's not a top 3 or 5 wide receiver
All
of
time.
all time.
No, I don't know. He's not. He didn't play long enough. Like, maybe if he finishes out, you're talking about a peak. When you say peak, you kind of discredit the longevity part. But I give you peak because I like to throw in Calvin Johnson because he didn't really have the longevity. But
Peak for peak, he had a 6 year run where he was 100. I mean, he had that streak one time. It was like 5 catches, 50 yards, which isn't elite, but he had that streak for like, what was it, 50 something games straight or something crazy like that.
there's guys that's like Jerry Rice that did this for like 20 plus years. Like, Randy Moss had 12 plus years. T.O. had 14. And I'm talking about
People also like to try to pretend Randy Moss never played in Tennessee. He did, and he wasn't that great.
in Tennessee.
Or Oakland.
I mean, he didn't have a quarter, bro. When you play with Ben and Tom Brady, bro, you better be having some results, bro. The first time he got Tom Brady, guess what happened? The very first time he got that same QB, what happened? They had the best duo connection we've ever seen in 1 year. 24 TD receptions is still like kind of crazy in a 16 game schedule where you got benched in week 17. Like they didn't even play the last game. They were 16-0. They didn't they didn't even play. Like I'm talking about this is like certain you got guys like T.O. who last season in Cincinnati, he had 990 yards and played 13 games. Didn't even play 16. You play 3 more, T.O. goes for 1,000 yards at 38. There's guys that like didn't just drop like I give you Chad when you talk about Jerry.
T.O.?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I think I'm up there with AB on To too. Although
Man,
To had that Super Bowl on one leg where he did some crazy shit,
T.O. had one leg and he gave folks 100 yards.
and his quarterback was throwing up in the huddle. I guess I'll give him that, but
if if he don't have I ain't gonna lie, if T.O. had Tom Brady, they have rings. Like
well,
if
yeah, everybody has rings with Tom Brady. Tom
man,
Brady fed families. Look at Wes Welker, Danny Amendola.
if he played with Big Ben, they would have rings.
Tom Brady got people questioning whether or not Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer.
Bro, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I didn't see the Steelers offense have multiple top 5 receivers in that same system. Mike Wallace put up wonderful numbers playing for the Steelers. Like,
Yeah,
I think he was the fastest guy in the league. Like,
he was at one point. Emmanuel Sanders.
I'm talking these are real life 1,300 to 1,200 yard. You know, like, so all you do is have to have a little bit of talent, I guess, to get to 60. You know, it's that bad. You know, no, he's top 10 for sure, but I don't know if I can say he's top 5.
I mean, I guess I can understand that strictly off the longevity thing, but
Longevity.
Calvin Johnson's longevity wasn't that great, to be honest.
There's guys like Steve Smith that tore his Achilles and came back at like 35 and gave 1,000 yards. Like,
Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and came back, won
yeah,
MVP, didn't he? Or was
no,
that his MVP year?
yeah, that's the last non QB MVP year.
And that's off a torn ACL. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of wicked thinking about. I think AP's the best we've ever had in our generation. Like, it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he had the combination of peak and longevity. I mean, he just fucking retired, what, 2 years ago? 1 year ago? He was
Yeah,
still playing like last year or some shit, I feel like.
but that's only because remember didn't he like go broke or something? He's like negative 2 million or something like
I
that.
never heard about that. I know that he was playing on Seattle because they was thin at running back, but I don't know about him going broke. That's crazy.
His agent, I guess, like did like backdoored him or whatever you
Mm,
call it, and he owed like $2 million to the IRS like
damn.
last year,
Yeah.
like, and that's what they were saying on like NFL Live. They're like, well, his off the field issues kind of give you a reason why he ain't retired yet because he kind of retired and came back like out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. He did.
He said, "I'll play for the Redskins." Bro had no drip. You know he didn't belong in this era. He had no gloves and an arm pad. What is he gonna do with an arm pad?
No
Like,
visor, no gloves, no none of that shit.
bro,
Big
ankle
ass shoulder pads.
ankle size.
He was dripped out to play in the 90s for sure.
Yeah, AB. You just don't get no APs no more.
Nah. I don't think I mean, other than Derrick Henry, it's hard to find guys that are genuine franchise running backs, anyways. Guys
Yeah,
that will stick around forever and be elite for a long time.
but I think that sums up the first episode for us, man.
I think it does. We got a little bit over an hour here. It ain't too bad.
Yeah, Redzone Rants, man. I'm
Yes,
Ant, man.
sir. I'm Dev.
The ugly one. Don't forget that, y'all.